I just finished playing Life is Strange Reunion and a lot of it was good. I will definitely say that it is better than Double Exposure by a mile. But just because I enjoyed this game a lot more than the previous one doesn't absolve a lot of the glaring issues that this game had. Now, this video isn't going to be like the last Life is Strange video that I did because fortunately I do have positive things that I want to talk about with this game and a lot of things that I really appreciated that they changed from the previous one. At the same time, as much as I appreciated the writing, character development, story for the most part, I do need to get a lot of my issues out the way now, just so the later half it can be more of the glazing and appreciation for what this game did offer. Now, I feel like the most important bit to get out the way is this game is filled with so many reused assets. Now, obviously you're in the same setting, different time of the year, but this is a $40 game using the same assets as the previous one that was probably priced around the same. As far as I'm aware, the only new area is the Abraxas house, and they might have expanded the school a little bit during the fire sequence. But besides that, a lot of reused assets. This technically could have been considered a DLC if it was just a part of the main game as like an update or something. I will say though that a lot of the visuals got really enhanced in this game, and especially a lot of the facial animations were kind of on point too. But at the same time, as I was playing the game, I was just thinking to myself, of course it should be better because of how much money they're saving by not having new environments and just reusing everything. Another gripe that I had was that the cliffhanger that was set up in the last game went completely nowhere. No Avengers, no X-Men. Diamond got obliterated from the story. You hear her in an optional area at the end of the game. It did feel a little disappointing with, especially I'm sure a bunch of people had theories about where the story would go, and it kind of just went. Diamond's doing her own thing. Safi left, decided it wasn't for her. She came back. Like it's very anticlimactic, honestly. Another thing that I didn't quite like in the game was the final choice, whether as Chloe you can decide to either burn the photo or give it to Max. Honestly, for me, it seemed very jarring that Moses thinks that with just the option that Maxis has to go back in time, that she would just destroy everything that she built in that week plus with saving the school regardless if people died or not, and even having this starting part of her life with Chloe to immediately just erase all of that to just rewind and just start from scratch. That seemed very odd to me because I personally just feel like Max isn't that selfish. Mind you that my Max was the one who sacrificed Chloe in Arcadia Bay, and she was the one who destroyed her own picture to stop herself from going back. So it seemed very jarring that her friends assumed that she would jump at the opportunity to just redo the entire 3-day period all over again. And the fact that Chloe would be scared that Max would leave her to the point where she would burn the photo without Max even knowing. So the right sequence for me was to just give Max the photo and she can choose whatever she wants to do with it, which obviously she chose to just move on and keep continuing with her life, because what sense would it make to just restart the entire thing to try to get a better outcome, in my opinion. But that being said, when I played the game, I failed 1 or 2 interactions and 2 people died during my playthrough. So as the player, I did go back to try to get a better outcome. So that made me think that a better outcome to that choice would have been like a sort of near thing, where if you decided to burn the picture, that would delete your save and you would never be able to restart or continue to try to find other things or get different endings. Or let's say if you gave the picture to Max, you would just always have that option to new game plus it or skip to any scene you would like. Me personally, that would have been a better outcome and more fourth wall breaking sort of thing, and kind of goes to show as like the player, like, are we Max? Are we actively going back in time to try to get a better ending? So I felt like that would have been interesting on my part. Now, the last bit that I had somewhat of a problem with, and this might be kind of a long one, I feel like especially especially with Reunion and more so Double Exposure, that these games open up a lot of interesting things and it just doesn't go anywhere. In terms of with Double Exposure, where you can go between the realities, and they had this whole thing where you were seeing different versions of each other, weird stuff was happening, and it just didn't go anywhere. So here comes Chloe Price in Life is Strange Reunion, which honestly is pretty interesting how they connected the previous game's choice with combining and merging the worlds, and that being somewhat related to a timeline where Chloe lived and a timeline where she's dead, creating this entirely new one. But honestly, it's just not developed enough for one main reason that kind of bothered me. So during the playthrough, I kept getting confused on how Joyce and Chloe had messages between each other, because obviously if you chose to sacrifice Arcadia Bay, Joyce is dead. So obviously the fact that Chloe and Joyce were able to have these conversations between each other, which I'm believing has been before the 9 months that the timeline got merged, is just very questionable, especially since Chloe is kind of going at Max, saying this Max that I knew and dated after the storm isn't the same you, and all this other things. It just calls into question what this entirely new reality is, because Chloe doesn't have any recollection of her mom being dead. And there was like an offhanded conversation on how Chloe has visions of her being dead, but Joyce might not, or maybe she does, but Chloe never talked to her about it. But I feel like part of the story should have somewhat been looking into what in the world is this new timeline, because Chloe is alive, Joyce is alive. What happened to the people in Arcadia Bay? What happened to Mr. Jefferson? Is Nathan in prison for Chloe's murder? Is he free walking around? Is he dead because of the events that happened during the storm? What do people have memories of? What happened? This isn't just one reality where Chloe is dead and now a new version of her is just in this world. This is something entirely new and something that I feel like should have just been explored. It definitely could have padded out more of the runtime too, because the game is very short. It's between 7 to 8 hours. We could have had a part in the game where Max either went to Arcadia Bay or did some research to figure out what exactly happened, what more got changed, because this is an entirely new timeline. I don't know if they wanted to just not focus on certain parts of that, but I just feel like that should have been addressed. It was basically the same thing of what happened in Double Exposure, where a lot of people were wondering if the new timeline could have been a branched timeline where Chloe was alive and then switching back between she was dead, and kind of go through that sort of thing, which it seemed that they retconned in regards to just getting rid of all the plot points that they were trying to set up to what Reunion is now. And that would also mean that Chloe isn't fully the same Chloe from if Arcadia Bay got destroyed, because she has memories of her mom being alive. She doesn't recall her being dead. Or that could be the case of that weird timeline amnesia thing. It's very confusing because she is fully set on this reality where Chloe and Max had this life together that isn't this current Max, but at the same time she's having memories of Joyce not being dead, but at the same time the storm being destroyed and Max being depressed about it. It's just very confusing, and it would have been so impactful if they just took a couple hours to even investigate what Max screwed up. It would have hit more on the fact that Max is just doing things, she's being selfish, she's not thinking about any of the consequences, she's gonna keep messing up, whatever Safi was trying to drill into her head. I feel like that would have been a perfect way to explain things. Okay, that was pretty much all of the issues that I had with the game. Like I said, I enjoyed this game a lot more than Double Exposure. It's kind of funny how they put me in that final circle for 2 games in a row after completing the final story. There are a couple things that I would like to highlight about the game that I really enjoyed. And the first thing that I do want to talk about, especially it was the first thing that I said in my last Life is Strange video, Max taught a class. Very surprising, and I was very shocked by that. Although her class of 5 people in the reused asset of her just being outside was a little disappointing, I'm not gonna lie. I kind of do feel like they kind of slapped in that teacher scene just because a lot of people were complaining with with just how basic of a scene that was and just the environment that it was in. You'd think with how much money that they're probably saving reusing all this stuff that they couldn't make a classroom. You know, in my opinion, it would be interesting to see any sort of classroom in this university at this point. I guess we have to take our wins when we get them, I guess. Another thing that I really did appreciate was that all of the side characters felt a lot more important than they did in the previous game. A lot of them had more scenes to flesh them out. You really get a chance to know them, know their personality. I didn't know that Loretta was in Max's class, and you kind of see her trying to navigate her little photo test thing. That was interesting. We got more interactions with Reggie. We find out that he's in this secret society club that Vin was a part of. A lot of more scenes with him that felt like the story was more connected than, if I remember correctly, Reggie was just sitting in the lounge with Diamond the entire game. So I appreciated that. A lot of the side characters felt like actual characters that wasn't just waste of space for random 1 or 2 cutscenes. I enjoyed Safi a lot in this game. I really enjoyed her personality and her, I'm not gonna call her like a villain, but antagonist kind of route, where whatever she was doing there, I enjoyed her being there, transforming as different people. I enjoyed her during that party when Max was drunk, and I enjoyed that little conversation that Chloe had with Safi in that overlight area. So far, the characters that wasn't shelved from the past game, I feel like they had a lot to do. You could even talk to Lucas pretty often in this game, which is very surprising. Another thing I enjoyed was that I enjoyed how mature Chloe was. It seemed like she was very understanding of Max's choice to let her die back in Arcadia Bay. If you chose that option, that's my playthrough, so that's the kind of route that I'm going with here. She seemed very nervous to talk to Max again, even when she kind of lashed out at her for like this weird timeline thing. She kind of wrapped back around, you know, it wasn't Max's fault, she was given these powers for a reason, stuff like that. Really good to hear. I really appreciated how she was in this game, and she didn't feel like an angsty teen. She just feel more like Chloe, just a little bit older. I still didn't like that last ending choice, because if you chose to give Max a photo, she's like, I know you're gonna want to try again, maybe a new version of us can meet again and stuff like that. It felt very jarring because I didn't think Max would go that route, but I could understand her having that fear in her heart that Max would leave her, so it's somewhat understandable. So I won't harp on it too much from Chloe's perspective, but I really did like Chloe in the game, especially the scene where she took Safi's backpack and threw it and gave it to Max to rewind. She noticed that Max tried to rewind to kiss her. Just a lot of fun things. Now, the unfortunate part of this is that the dynamic with Max and Chloe is really good in this game, and the writers were absolutely cooking with a lot of stuff in this game, with a lot of the scenes, the party scene, Max and Chloe in general, talking about the events from the previous games. The only thing I'm upset about is that right now it kind of seems like Max can't have her own standalone game without Chloe being present, with just how bad that double exposure was perceived. And that's unfortunate, because obviously I feel like a lot of people is going to enjoy this game for a lot of different reasons. Arguably, this is just the better game. I feel like, if I don't know if the writers were the same as double exposure, but the writers in this game, they cook. If they were just able to do that with double exposure, enhanced a lot of things, that would have been a good standalone Max game if they just cooked a little bit harder. But I am kind of worried about the next steps, that if there were another Max game, they have to just have Chloe. Like, there can't be a standalone game with just Max, unfortunately. I just feel like that's just the precedent that this game is just gonna show. And the last thing that I really enjoyed was that I felt like the connection between Chloe and Safi was very interesting. Both being dead, both being in this weird limbo state, it was very interesting, and it did give them a connection to each other than just those two just focused on Max. Obviously, Max being the one that brought them together, so Max is kind of just beaming light, but those two do have some sort of connection, and I'm glad they were able to have a conversation towards the end of the game where Chloe is trying to help her not throw her life away in the overlay. Safi was likable. She felt more like a person compared to the last game, and also her trying to figure out her own path was interesting. So overall, I enjoyed it. I had a good time. There was a few things that bothered me here and there, but overall it didn't fully get rid of my experience. I felt like the character writing was really good. I do feel like they did Chloe justice. It didn't feel like a cash grab. A lot of the side characters, Loretta, I'm so glad that they did her justice. She was literally such a nothing character in the last game that I'm just so happy that they gave her more content. So overall, I had a fine time. I definitely feel like if they keep going this path, the next couple Life is Strange games could be pretty interesting. So we'll just have to wait and see. But let me know what you think. This is definitely a longer video than the ones that I'm usually used to uploading, but I had a lot to say. I'm a big Life is Strange fan. I've played every single Life is Strange game. Let me know how you felt about the game as a whole. Were there any issues that you wanted to highlight about the game? Was there anything that you enjoyed about the game? And let me know if there's any videos you would like to see me talk about in the future. We are at 609 subscribers. I really appreciate everyone who subscribed, liked the video, stayed since the last Life is Strange video. It really means a lot. Thanks for watching, really appreciate it. Hopefully I can see you in another video. Goodbye.